Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called One Night at McCool. In part 1, we met Randy, who went to talk to a mysterious man named Mr. Burmester about a girl named Jewel. He met her at the end of his shift at the bar McCool, saved her from a guy who robbed them. Later, she ended up killing him and used her pretty eyes to convince him to say he did it. Randy's cousin Carl is in therapy about Jewel, that he saw at the same bar that night, but he found out she's Randy's girlfriend, invited for barbecue. Then Detective Delling is talking to a priest about this gorgeous woman Jewel, which he met when interrogating Randy about the murder. He felt in love and feels like the universe sent him to save her from Randy. All three men are obsessed with Jewel and things are about to go crazy. She convinced Randy to rob his old boss and now wants him to rob a bigger fish, a rich guy. Randy thinks it's a bad idea, but Jewel gets sentimental on living in her dream house. Randy arrives at the house to rob. Meanwhile, Jewel took the rich guy for dinner to keep him out of the house for 3 hours. Randy finds so many fancy stuff. At this moment, things started going wrong. The guy named Greg comes back with Jewel. She tries to make him go for more driving, but he wants to stay. When Jewel sees the house, she is mesmerized. Greg gets in his room while Randy is hiding. Greg then forces himself in her. She slaps him. He slaps her unconscious. Randy tries to get out of the closet to save her. She wakes up and kicks him hard. The DVD falls on him. He gets unconscious as Randy comes in. Randy is not sure about that anymore, now that there is a dead guy. They leave. The next day, Jewel is mad that they were in an expensive house and took nothing. She calls him a chicken and says she needs the real man. The detective knocks on the door again. He can't stop looking at Jewel while talking to Randy. He sees bruises on her and wants to talk to her alone. The detective comes out and says Randy has no more right to come close to his own house because of domestic violence. If Randy comes in, the detective will have arrested him. Randy is pushed out of the house. Jewel watches him, and Randy understands he just got duped. We then see the detective telling the story to the priest. He says he was consumed by her thoughts. The detective then is on the scene of the murder of Greg, but his thoughts are on Jewel. We are then shown what they talked about. He tells her he can get him out of the house for 90 days, but to keep him out forever she would need a lawyer. She then called Randy's cousin, Carl, who is a lawyer. Carl tells his therapist that he introduced her to one of his co-worker lawyer Greg, who ended up dead. He adds that he had issues with his wife, and adds he was making love to Jewel on the regular. The detective spent so much time standing in front of her house. He found any excuses to see her. She then invited him inside for lunch. The detective believes she was sent from God. She tells him he will look really hot in uniform. We see that Randy is telling Mr. Burmester that because of her, he lost his job, his house, and now is in 2 murders. He was outside stalking the house. He then saw her through his mum's stuff. That was the point of no return. He had to do something drastic. That's where he got in touch with Mr. Burmester for his services. Meanwhile, the therapist is shocked that Carl slept with his cousin's girlfriend. The detective then goes to see Carl about Greg. Even while talking to him, all Carl is thinking is Jewel. He starts talking about bondage in front of the detective. At the house, while she is out, the detective took evidences. Because the shoe trace found in Greg's house is the same as Randy, maybe she is involved, he says. After examination, unfortunately her print matches one of the prints found in Greg's house. He believes Randy forced her to do it, and he will protect her by not getting her charged in it. He asked her about it, but to put him on her side, she makes love to him. She asks if he will arrest Randy. He says possibly. She is happy because she will keep the house. We come back to Randy, who gives Mr. Burmester the money. He then hears that the bingo lady called for the owner of the car he is driving. Outside he sees many cops around his car. Randy realizes this car that she gave him was stolen. They get out of there pretending they have nothing to do with the car. Randy asks him if he will still do it. Mr. Burmister says business is business. Meanwhile, the detective tells the priest that he destroyed evidences incriminating her. The priest forgives him. Carl then tells his therapist that he feels empty. That woman made him feel alive, he cries. Mr. Burmister brings Randy somewhere to stay low, and reminds him he killed people. Meanwhile, the detective dresses up as a cop to please Jewel's fantasies. Carl gets a call from Randy. Carl is happy to hear that Jewel is home alone. He rushes to her. Randy sees a commercial that helps broken men, says that tomorrow may be too late. He goes to steal a car. Carl arrives at Jewel's house. No one home. He breaks in. He dresses up in his fantasies. The detective dressed as cop also arrives. The door opens. Carl is getting ready. Mr. Burmister then arrives ready to do his job. He is a killer. He takes his gun out. Meanwhile, Randy is hurrying. All these characters are about to collide. Mr. Burmister is about to get in. The detective who looks for her come face to face with Carl. They are speechless. Carl closes the door as the detective takes his gun out. He confronts him. Carl says, "You need a search warrant." The detective says, "It's my girlfriend's house." Carl says that he is a lawyer and will be representing Randy and sue the police. The detective says and Randy will go to jail for the murder of Greg. The detective wants to take him to jail for killing Greg because of his gay passion for him. Carl denies it. After saying he is here to make love to Jewel, the detective points a gun at him. Mr. Burmister sees the two men through the window thinking they are making love. Randy bursts in. Carl admits he made love with her, then tells the detective did too. Randy is looking for her. Randy was actually trying to stop Mr. Burmister from killing her, and says someone is coming to kill her. A mysterious man enters with a gun. It's Utah's brother, who is here for revenge. The brother of the first murder Randy took the blame for. Mr. Burmister gets his gun ready. Then another gun points at him. It's Jewel. They both point guns at each other. And now Mr. Burmister is mesmerized with her, falling in love with her. Jewel then sees what's happening inside. She is shocked. Utah's brother says that murder step up, or he kills everyone. They see them outside. The brother shoots towards them. Mr. Burmister protects Jewel. The detective shoots the brother. The brother shoots back, injuring the detective. Both shoot at each other. Carl jumps through the window. He starts running. The brother then shoots the detective, who collapses. He goes closer to Randy. Jewel comes and shoots the brother. She then gives Randy one last look before she leaves. This time she leaves for good. She goes in the car of Mr. Burmister. She says she will miss that house. When Mr. Burmister says he has a house, Jewel is intrigued. She falls in love with him. They drive off. Meanwhile, Carl is running and thank God to be safe, but a trash can falls on him. The movie ends. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check our other movies summaries.